Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar with Floraly. My name is Emily. I'm the Senior Campaign Lead here at Birchal. And just before I introduce you to Alec and Stefan, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that I'm coming to you from today. Birchal is based on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. As mentioned today, I'm joined by Alec and Stefan from Floraly. Birchal's working with them on their crowdsource funding offer, which is currently live on the Birchal platform. Some of you might not be familiar with what equity crowdfunding, CSF, or crowdsource funding is, and it's a relatively new form of fundraising here in Australia, which allows startups and small businesses to raise capital from a large number of smaller or retail investors, as well as wholesale and sophisticated investors through an online platform such as Birchal. So instead of seeking funds from traditional sources, such as banks or venture capitalists, companies can turn to the general public and often that's their communities in exchange for equity in their business. So Birchal Financial Services is the licensed intermediary for the offer that we're talking about today. And I would like to remind you that the information and discussion in this webinar is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice or a recommendation to invest. So please do your own research and always consider the offer document and general CSF risk warning before investing. Now, how today's session is going to run, I'm going to hand over to Stefan and Alec, who will take us through a presentation all about Floraly, where they've come from, and what they're looking to achieve with this capital raise, and then we'll switch to a Q&A session. So if you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see a little Q&A bubble. If you do have any questions during today's session, please pop it in the Q&A box as we go along, and we'll endeavour to answer all of these in the Q&A time at the end. We're also recording today's session, so if you do need to jump off early or if you'd like to send it to somebody you think might be interested, a recording will be sent around. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Alec and Stefan.
Fantastic. Thank you, Emily. I'm Alec. Hey, I'm Stefan. So we are the founders of Floraly, and we've been running this company for 5 years now. We put together a little slide deck, so I think we'll just go through. Yeah. So I guess the first thing is, why do we exist? And to put it really simply, we exist to send joy when you can't be there to give that hug in person. And we started the company partly because we really enjoy running businesses that make people happy, and because we spotted an opportunity in an industry that was really outdated. We'll kind of get to what that means in a second. Yeah, so like Alec was saying, the industry, the flower gifting industry, as it has been for the last 20 years, super outdated. It's run by predominantly these large companies that are flower aggregators. This means that they collect your order online, and then they send that order to a local florist. They themselves don't hold any of the stock. And it means that the local florists, wherever they are, they need to hold a whole bunch of stock on hand just in case an order comes through. Yeah, and the problem with that is two things. One, that it costs more money for consumers because they're having to pay both the companies that collect the orders and also the florists who are fulfilling it. So you've got two businesses that you need to pay. And also it means that there's a lot more waste. And so you have all these flowers that are sitting around hoping that an order is going to come through. And when it doesn't come through, about a third of all the flowers get thrown out. So we realized this was a huge problem, a huge opportunity from a business aspect and a huge problem from our sustainability aspect, and decided we'd solve that. And the way we do that is by this new model of flower delivery, which is essentially integrating both the contact with the customers up the top through our website, and then also the sourcing of flowers directly from the farms. And so because we're able to know which flowers that we're actually able to source in a given period of time and what's coming in, we can control which products we're serving to customers on the website. And as a result, directly linking those two together reduced waste to about 3%. So it's a huge reduction in the amount of waste. It means there's lower cost, and it means that the flowers arrive fresher and longer to our customers. Yeah, so kind of like we've said, flower waste is a major problem in our industry, and this is one of the reasons that we started Floraly, and I think one of the reasons that we've been successful and have been able to grow such a powerful brand within the industry. We're also really sustainably conscious. We are full members of 1% for the Planet. That means that 1% of all our revenue goes to charitable organizations, and we offset our carbon emissions through our charity partner as well. Yeah, sustainability is actually something that's really important to us in all of our businesses.
And it's one of the reasons why we set up a sustainability committee within Floraly. So we have regular reviews to figure out what we can do better, how we can reduce plastic in our company. It's something that just means a lot to us, and something that also resonates with consumers really well.
Yeah. So why the flower industry? How big is it? Who knows?
Yeah.
We are lucky enough to get access to a report from IBIS World, kind of a large industry research data collecting agency. And the most recent report from October 2024, their statistics say that the market is valued at close to $500 million in revenue per year, and that the online flower retailers are now the largest component of the flower market in Australia. So surpassing the traditional florists, which is kind of exciting for us in that space.
Yeah. And the great thing about being in an industry like this is that the whole industry is growing. So, when you start a business, the best position you can be in is one where you're being, the kind of tide lifts all boats situation. So we want to be in an industry where everybody is benefiting, and that's definitely the case here, where more and more people move their flower purchasing online, and the whole industry is growing, and that benefits everyone, including us. So we've achieved quite a bit in the last 3 years since we did our previous fundraise. We're incredibly proud to say that when we last fundraised, we were doing about $1 million in revenue. Last year, we did $6.4 million in revenue. So that's 500% growth in just 3 years, which is exactly what we promised we would do.
And I think just as amazingly, it means that we've now donated over 150,000 meals to people who need it through our charity partner, Oz Harvest. And that's something that we're incredibly proud of.
Yeah, and delivered over 180,000 moments of joy. Yeah. So we're incredibly proud of those numbers. We've also expanded our same-day delivery to Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, and Brisbane in Australia. Yep. And there's a few advantages to that. One means we can serve more customers, and it also means that the business makes more sense from a customer acquisition point of view, because we're paying to get all those customers through to our website anyway. And so you want to be able to fill those orders or you lose them. So it makes the business more efficient. And we've been listed on quite a few new platforms, including Qantas, and as of only a week ago, Woolies Marketplace, which is super exciting. We've got product market fit. We've proven we can acquire the customers, and I think that's shown through our 30% repeat customer rate.
Yeah. So we want to be, quite frankly, the biggest and most loved flower gifting company in Australia. And we have a pretty clear strategy, like a laser-focused vision on how we're going to achieve this.
Yeah, I think what's really good to note here is that in the last 3 years, we have focused on growth. We've focused on figuring out how to acquire those customers at the top part of the business. And the problem is that in the flower industry, when people want to send flowers, they go to Google. That's the kind of thing that anybody would do. You want to send it to a new location, Melbourne or Brisbane, you just go straight there and type in send flowers Melbourne. And the biggest problem we have is that customers do that not just the first time, but our repeat customers do that. Next time they want to send flowers, they go, I want to send it to Melbourne. They go to Google and they see us and go, that's the company I used last time, Floraly, and we end up paying Google again to reacquire those customers. So our strategy for pushing towards profitability and for growth as a part of this fundraise is all centered around membership and retention. We want to create a mobile app and give our customers benefits for downloading the app, and then keep them
in that ecosystem.
So next time they want to send flowers, they don't go to Google and we don't pay to reacquire them. Instead, they use the app. That saves us $30 to $40 per follow-on customer. And then we want to launch a completely new type of subscription model in Australia, which is something we're really excited about.
Yeah, I think that's something that doesn't really exist yet in Australia. It's something, if you want to have a look, there's a company in the UK called Freddie's Flowers, a fantastic, huge business that has built their entire business around just a subscription product. And it's a little bit different to just getting flowers every month, because we're giving people, not just the flowers, but also other gifts that go along with it. And it's more about bringing flowers into your own home and becoming the florist to then every month, create your own bouquet.
Yeah,
that's a really cool product.
Yeah, I think actually this slide, if you were to take away anything from today, this is the most important business aspect of what we're doing as part of this raise. I mean, this really encapsulates our clear vision for how we're going to push this company towards profitability at the scale we've already got, because it just makes sense. We know that there's companies out there in the world like Bloom and Wild, who are in the UK. They do something like $600 million of revenue a year. They, at last reported, get about 30% of their orders through their mobile app. So we know this is a really good strategy, and we know it's going to be incredibly effective at reducing those reacquisition costs, and that's what our hope is, to drive profitability in the future. So really, we want to use the money that we take from this raise to really create those fantastic membership retention programs and build this mobile app.
Yeah, so why are we raising?
Yeah, well, there's that part of it, and there's building our community. Honestly, it's one of the reasons why you do crowdfunding as opposed to private round funding alone, is that you get a whole lot of people that really believe in our sustainability mission, really believe in what we want to do for changing the industry, believe in our growth journey, and those customers become fantastic parts of our community.
Yeah, the fantastic advocates for our advocates of our business, and pretty proud to say that so far we've already hit our 100K minimum target, and we've got about 150 investors already on board. So it's kind of amazing to see the support that we've received.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's and the reason why you should join us, kind of just a bit of a summary of everything we've said. Look, I think we're pretty clear on our goals about becoming the biggest and most sustainable company in Australia. And I think we've got a great path to do that. We kicked all of the goals that we had last time for our fundraise: 500% growth, $6.4 million in revenue. We've actually closed a private round of $600,000 previously to this fundraise. So this fundraise we're doing right now is kind of the tip of the iceberg. So you're among good company here. We've raised about $740,000 in the last 6 months. And we've just got a really clear vision for how we're going to execute this. So I think, yeah, I think some really good reasons to join us.
Yeah, so we would love to have we would love to build our community, and we'd love to have you guys on board. So if there's any questions, ask them right now, or shoot us an email at invest@floraly.com.au. Yeah, so if there's any questions, we'd
Great.
love to.
Thank you so much. If you want to stop sharing your screen so we can see your faces a bit more clearly, that would be awesome. So you say that you currently use technology to skip the middleman. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, so that was kind of touching on what we mentioned at the start with the way the industry traditionally worked. So I'll give a bit of background here. Originally, before the internet was much of a thing, the way that people ordered flowers was by picking up the telephone and calling a company like Teleflora. And so they would have huge call centers of people. And so it was essentially one company would sit there, they'd take your order, and then they would call a local florist, pass the order on to them, and they'd fill it. And so when the internet came along, those same companies like Teleflora just moved that same model straight online. And so they were just a website, they take your order and they forward it on to the local florist. What we do is we chop out those two parts and make it one. So we're the same company that takes the order from a website, and we're the same company that sources the flowers, and we're the same company that packs them, and the same company that delivers them. So we chop out all of those extra costs in the middle that you incur by having one business here and another business doing the fulfillment and packing.
Yeah, it also means that because we've optimized our supply chain, we can receive an order and then go out and purchase those flowers directly afterwards, which means in a lot of cases we are able to purchase the flowers after a customer places their order, so greatly reducing flower waste in the process.
Yeah, exactly. And it means our flowers delivered fresher, and it also means that we get economies of scale that you wouldn't traditionally get if you're just a single local florist who's only getting 20 or 30 orders a day.
So with the freshness of the flowers, how does this work when the flowers are delivered in a box with a minimum of 2 days for delivery?
Depends where you're going. That's a great question. So by far the majority of our deliveries are in the same day delivery location. So that's Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. And so in those situations, we're packing the flowers that morning. We're doing either a morning run or an afternoon run, and we're delivering them within 2 hours of us having packed them. And
in other locations, we supply products that can withstand that delivery time. For example, Australian natives, a much more hardy, robust flower that can withstand those transportations.
Yeah. And for those situations, we wrap them all in a special type of eco-friendly wadding that holds water to keep them fresh as they're in travel. And this is actually a great thing about us controlling the website as well. We break down the products we offer by postcode. So if you're looking to send to somewhere rural compared to sending to somewhere like Sydney, you'll get a completely different selection of products. And so we're able to match the products that are available for those locations with the customers looking for those locations.
Brilliant, thank you. So where do you mainly source your flowers from, and are they grown locally? And if yes, have you built a long-term business with the local growers?
Yeah, good question. So we get as many flowers as we can from local suppliers. We can't get all of our flowers from local suppliers, unfortunately, and that's because in part a lot of local suppliers have shut down over the last 20 years or so, especially with flowers such as roses. Roses are still a very popular flower, and these are now mostly sourced from overseas, unfortunately.
And where they are sourced in Australia, like for example, we work with a farm just outside of Sydney called Birchal that grow roses they're only available at certain times of year. So there are some climates in the world where they can grow them year round. In Australia, they only grow seasonally. So we source, I think it's about 75% of all of our flowers locally. And it really depends on what's in demand. And a lot of that is skewed by the big times of the year, like Valentine's Day, where we're sending roses, obviously.
Great. So with higher cost of living in Australia, how have you seen your current customers behaving and how do you expect them to behave in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, it's a really great question. We have tweaked our product offering a little bit to try and offer products that are better suited during a time of increased costs. Yeah. So for example, we've got this fantastic posy range that comes with a little pop-up paper pot as well, so a little paper vase. So you're getting this whole beautiful package that we're able to offer to customers at like a fantastic value.
And for us, it means that in those we're creating products that cost us less in the sense that we're putting less flowers in those products, but by having these beautiful paper vases, we're delivering still the same kind of gifting value to a customer. So we're matching our cost to their needs. I think the other kind of important thing to remember is that the main reasons why people send flowers are usually for an event. So it's birthdays or new babies are born or moving house or death, unfortunately. But those events continue to happen even during cost of living crises. And while you see a reduction in the amount of flowers that are sent for other reasons, just like a just because gift, those other gifting situations still go on.
Great, thank you. So for your mobile app, what stage is this at and will this be done in-house or built through a tech partner?
Yeah, that's also a great question. It will be done a bit of both. So essentially we use Shopify, which is our platform for all of our website, and Shopify has some fantastic integrations and they have a fantastic app store. So what we'll be doing is we've already scoped out all of the mobile apps that are already pre-built for Shopify partners, and we'll be using one of those, and then we'll be customizing that. So the same way we build our website, we don't build our website from scratch. We use Shopify as the kind of base framework, and then we do the customization on top of that. And so it'll be the same thing. So essentially what that means is 90% of the dev work will be done, and it will be the customization of that offer and the presentation and everything else that is fitted to our exact needs. And it's a good question, because I think usually when we get asked this, people are thinking, okay, so we raised $150,000 as part of this Birchal round, raised 600 grand before. Are we putting that all into dev costs? The answer to that really is no. What we're putting that money towards, the dev part is only going to be about 10 or 20 grand. What we're putting that money towards is driving customers and providing them incentives to download the app in the first place, stay on the app, so that we then build that retention over time. So it's more about a customer incentivization program. That's what the money is going towards, rather than it is the actual development cost itself.
Great, thank you. How do you market yourselves differently from local florists as they deliver the same day delivery?
Yeah, it's another good question. We don't really see ourselves as competing that much with local florists, because if you want flowers for yourself, or if you want flowers for maybe your next door neighbor, then you will go to a local florist, and we support that because you can deliver the flowers yourselves. But we are there to gift flowers if you can't be there to physically gift them yourselves. I think that's kind of the main differentiating factor.
Yeah, and so who we're really competing against, it's not local florists taking those orders, it's actually those order amalgamators who would otherwise take the orders and forward them on to a local florist. Because the reality is, if you want to send flowers to a friend in Melbourne who lives in some suburb you don't get to visit very frequently, it's really hard to know
who the local florist is,
or which florist to trust or anything like that. So what we're really doing is we're really taking business away from those old school order amalgamators rather than local florists who serve local delivery.
Good to know. So would you consider Lovely or another online florist to be your main competitor, and how do you see yourselves differentiating?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is yes. But there are, I think how we touched on before, is that there are kind of two different types of businesses in this market. There are the old school ones, and there are new businesses, and Lovely fall into that same category as us. Lovely are very much skewed to a different group of people. Their kind of tone of voice is quite different to ours. It's more.
It's like a bit of a younger.
I'd say younger, more like carefree tone. Where we're differentiated from a branding perspective, more being about sustainability and spreading of joy. But to answer the question, I think ultimately, in the part of the market that we're in, which is the kind of new gifting model, which is much more centralized, there are room for multiple players to grow and take a huge part of this market. But we really do believe that our branding and the way we speak to our customers will identify more with the middle of the market and more of average Australia than this kind of irreverent tone of voice that someone like Lovely uses.
Great, thank you. So you say you're now live on the Woolworths marketplace. In what states and in which stores? As Woolworths files are quite cheap, how does this work?
Yeah, so this is the online marketplace and not in stores. And I believe it's within Sydney and Melbourne at this stage.
Yeah, so they're currently, they've built out the first version of their marketplace, which we are live on at the moment. And then I think it's in June next year, they're planning on doing a more higher functionality version, which will allow people to actually input their delivery postcode and select variants of products. So they'll be able to select different sizes. So right now, we're one of the few flower providers on there, and we're able to service the main areas like Sydney, Melbourne. And then when the full version of the site goes live in the middle of next year, we'll be able to service, you know, all of the Australia that we can service now.
Great. Will you consider expanding your market to regional towns in the future?
Yeah, it's something we've discussed, and we are exploring partnerships with local florists in those towns, or select partners in larger regional towns.
Yeah, and it's also, this is a great question because it depends which towns you're talking about. But take Wollongong, for example. We can get there with the right scale. So once our business in Sydney is big enough, then you can do things like collect enough orders for Wollongong that day and send them out from the warehouse at 6 in the morning, have a driver drive all the way to Wollongong and then deliver it for the whole way of all of Wollongong. Same for Newcastle. If we can get the scale, then we're able to deliver to whole areas outside of Sydney and outside of Melbourne. It's about kind of building the business up to that point where the numbers make sense.
Awesome. So given delivery is fundamental to the business model, how do you engage or manage delivery partners to ensure timely, consistent experiences for users?
Cool question. I don't think we've been asked this one before.
Yeah, well, we have a few different same-day delivery partners. And I think having some options around who your delivery partners are helps you, you're not pushed into a corner where you're reliant on one single partner. So we have really good relationships with all our delivery partners, and I think we've always had really good communication and generally don't have issues.
Yeah.
So there's always issues. Delivery is quite it's always a challenge, but generally we see really good feedback.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things is so we have an app for, I think it's all of our same-day deliveries around Australia, but definitely for all the major areas. It might not be yet live in Adelaide, but it's an app where we're delivering that where you can track where your flowers are and you can see how far away it is and you can see the driver. And so, that helps us communicate with the driver. They also take photos if someone's not home. So if they leave the flowers outside the door and, ring the doorbell and you're not there, I'll take a photo of it so they know where to find it. Yeah, so it's a good system that gets sent straight through to the customer so they know where to find the flowers afterwards.
Great, good to know. So you say that you've got 2,200 five-star reviews. Why does the product review only have 1.7 stars for Floraly?
Is this on Google? Is this which?
They have
why is product review not 1,000?
Product review.
Okay, so on our website, this is a great, interesting question. So on our website, there are, I think it's 2,000 reviews or something like that. We're counting up the number of reviews we have on Google as well as the number of reviews we have on our website. So when people buy from us, we send them an email afterwards asking for a review, and we split that in half. Half of it goes to Google and half of it goes to our website. This is one of the things about running an e-commerce company. You need to be able to make sure that you're getting people everywhere so that no matter where a new first customer looks to check reviews, they've got it. So essentially, the numbers, the 2,200 five-star reviews is a sum of both people who've reviewed on Google and people who've reviewed on our website.
So it's on productreview.com.au where those reviews are. I'm sure we can have a look at these later when we've got access.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So there's a lot of third-party review sites. I think Product Review is one of them. We send all our reviewers primarily to Google and to our own site. So if we're not rated highly enough there, it's simply because we haven't sent that many of them. Yeah, we just haven't sent anybody there to reviews. We encourage people to review on the main platforms, which is Google and our site itself.
Fair enough. So you said that the revenue has grown significantly. How about profitability?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of, so we fundraised 3 years ago. We raised $600,000 then, and when you fundraise, the purpose of it is for funding growth. So part of that has been spending the $600,000 over the course of the last 3 years to be able to kind of achieve the growth numbers we have. And as a result, necessarily, you're not profitable in doing that because you're using that money to acquire new customers. So our profitability has gotten better in the last 3 years. I think last year we made a loss of $200,000, I think it was. And so yeah, it's kind of we've had this record of the last 3 years of kind of our losses have been getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and we now have this plan of putting in place a retention model to kind of push us over the line.
Yeah.
Right, good to know. So since your last raise with Birchal, how instrumental have the new shareholders been in shaping your business?
Ooh, good question.
It's actually hard to know.
It's hard to know. I think we're of the opinion that having people who build a community is super powerful. It's hard to measure, but I think having people who talk about your brand, who are advocates of your brand, who obviously hopefully buy your product. I think these are all things that it's difficult to measure, but very intangible, but I think fantastic.
That's right. Like we do know that a lot of people who invested in us last time continue to be our customers. We have no idea how many of their friends they've told because it's kind of hard to get that information.
Absolutely fair enough. So how often do you interact with your shareholders that you now have?
Send out regular shareholder updates, and anytime someone sends through a question, we answer it. So our updates, we previously weren't doing them frequently enough. We were doing them only once or twice a year. Our plan is to do these quarterly now, and that's what we've done recently.
Brilliant. So do you expect to have any issues around IP or defensibility of your product, or is that not something that you consider?
It's not something that we consider. Obviously, we would any IP infringement on our name or kind of website, those kind of branding we consider extremely strong.
But actually did happen once.
It did happen. Yeah, we got that and we shut that down.
We had someone fake our Instagram account, and then we had to complain directly to Instagram.
Yeah.
So that kind of IP infringement is pretty easy to clear up with any platforms like Instagram or Facebook. But beyond that, it's Australian law is pretty clear on what you can and can't do, and you can't go around copying people's brand names.
Oh. So how big is your team currently?
We've got
about 12 people, I think, 12 full-time people.
Yeah, including operations, and then there's obviously casuals, which fluctuate based on demand.
Great. So are you looking to expand into any other vertical or horizontal markets?
Kind of have already. So we have been testing plants on our website, and we, as part of kind of this new range that we're pushing through to the paper vases, we've also developed gift boxes, and so that's kind of taking us more into that hamper territory. I think that we have to be careful with the way we do it because we want to make sure we don't dilute our messaging to our consumers. But we have talked about it for a while, and we want to make sure that as we move more into this gifting space, general gifting space, we're doing it in a way that really complements our current products and gives consumers reasons to come back and buy more frequently. So yeah, the answer is definitely we're moving there, but it's not like we want to pivot to something completely unrelated to flower gifting. Yeah. We want to keep it within the gifting sphere.
Good to know. So are you offering any rewards in this current round?
Yes.
Could you explain those a little bit further?
Yeah, actually, this is really exciting. We're offering free shipping for anybody for 5 orders for anyone that invests $250, which is the minimum, or we're offering free shipping for life for anybody that invests $400 or more. So this we think is kind of 2 reasons for this. One, we want to reward people for being part of this investment round, and the other reason why is we really want to push and encourage people who do invest with us to be huge supporters of our brand and users of our product. So thought it was a great way to give back and a great way to also encourage usage and spreading the word.
Are you looking to expand into any other markets other than Australia?
It's something we have discussed, but honestly not something that's on the cards for the next 12 to 18 months. We want to really nail this retention piece, really nail the app, the membership, the subscription piece. And then possibly also push more into the hamper side of things. And then once we're comfortable in that space, then other countries could be on the cards.
Good to know. So I think this is all of our questions that we've gone through so far. But that being said, if anybody does have any... Oh, no, we've got another question. Great. How much do you rely on Google Ads and what does it cost you?
Yeah, quite a bit, which is the same for all flower companies. So, how much is a great question. I wouldn't know how to exactly quantify that. It's so I'll do the cost part first. So it costs us about $30 to $40 per order through Google to acquire customers, and this would be the same across the board for any flower company in Australia. The percentage of orders we get through Google is probably around 50% at the moment. I'd have to double check the numbers. The reason why it's a hard one to answer is that it's really hard to attribute whether someone purchased from Google because they found you first from Google, or whether they saw some of your ads on Facebook first and then went to Google, or whether they know of your company already and went to Google. So yeah, the number will be somewhere around the 50% mark, but that's all part of our plan for reacquiring customers through an app is to reduce that number.
Great. Okay, awesome. But if anybody does have any additional questions, obviously Alec and Stefan are open to all of your questions. So please reach out. You can do so via the Birchal platform. There is a message button that goes directly to the team. And if you have already invested, thank you so much. We often get questions of how you can increase your investment once you have already invested. You just submit a second application and it will combine with your first one. So if that's something you're looking to do, by all means, jump on the platform. If you haven't invested yet, there is still 1 week remaining to invest. Oh, we've got another question, which is great. Do you hire florists or have a workforce that simply follows direction from your head florist?
We have kind of two lead florists, and then beneath them are generally a mix of more or less experienced casuals.
Yes, there's lots of different work that goes into making a bouquet of flowers. There's the kind of more, how would you say, less skilled work, which would be like making boxes that we send them in, or just stripping the flowers, and then there's the work of actually arranging bouquets. So it's a mix
of designing bouquets.
Exactly. So it's a mix of trained florist and just normal casual labor.
Brilliant. Good to know. Awesome. So just a reminder to everybody that the Floraly offer does close on Thursday next week at 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So you've only got a week remaining to get involved in this offer. But as we said, any questions, please reach out either to the Floraly team or the Birchal team. But it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so, so much for your time, and we'll send out a recording afterwards.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, just to reiterate, if anybody wants to get on a call with us, ask us any more questions, we're more than happy to jump on a call and have a chat about it. So yeah, please let us know.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thanks so much. Bye. Bye.